everybody. Wow, I was power washing. I was stepping in the shower. Scooter called me to tell me this bombshell. So there's supposed to be a press conference. I just got out of the shower. I am going to see. Barry Morphew was arrested in Arizona today. Grand jury turned in the indictment on Wednesday. And let's see if we've got the 12th Judicial District Attorney's Office is planning a press conference for 6:20. Due to technical issues, we are unable to stream the press conference live. It will be uploaded once it's complete, so we will listen to it. 6:20 is right about now because it's in Colorado and it's 2 hours behind us. So we will listen to it. And let's see. According to the grand jury indictment, let's take a look at that, which is right here. Pull that over right here. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Let me make sure that I'm live before I go through. Hello, everybody. There we are. Wow, okay. Here's the indictment. Let's see what we've got. I think the notifications just went out because I just got a thing on my watch. Murder in the first degree. On or about May 9th to May 10th of 2020 in or triable in the state of Colorado, Barry Morphew, unlawfully, feloniously, and after deliberation with the intent to cause the death of a person other than himself, caused the death of Suzanne Morphew at 5:46 p.m. on May 10th, 2020, Mother's Day, Sunday. Suzanne Morphew was reported missing to police by her neighbor. The last known person to see her alive was her husband, Barry Morphew. Investigators responded to the Morphew residence at 19057 Puma Path near Salida, Colorado, to investigate the missing person report. The house was locked, and Suzanne Morphew was not home. Her vehicle was in the garage. Her blank vehicle was in the garage. There were no signs of forced entry, and her bike was missing. Later that evening, her bike was located down a hillside off of a dirt road between her house and Highway 50. The bike was located less than a mile from the Morphew home. On May 14th, 2020, her bike helmet was located 10 meters off the side of Highway 50, approximately 1.52 miles west of the Morphew home and approximately 84 miles west of where her bike was located. Barry was interviewed, told police that he set his alarm and woke up at 4:30 a.m. on May 10th. He told police that he left at 5 a.m. on May 10th for a pre-planned work trip in Broomfield, Colorado. According to Barry, Suzanne was still asleep in bed when he left his house at 5 a.m. on May 10th. He told police she planned to ride her bike that day. Barry stated that upon arriving in Broomfield that morning, he checked into a hotel before leaving shortly after for the job site. He told police that he received a call around 5 p.m. on May 10th from his neighbors while physically at the Broomfield job site. The neighbors told Barry that his daughters were concerned because they could not reach Suzanne all day. Barry instructed the neighbors to check the house and specifically to look for her bike. The neighbor reported to Barry that neither Suzanne nor the bike were at the house, and Barry then instructed them to call the sheriff. Hello to Scooter. Police interviewed one of Barry's employees scheduled to assist him with the Broomfield job. Did you hear what I said about the press conference, Scooter? They say that they can't stream it, but they're going to add it.
Nothing about the investigation yet. They'll do it later.
Yeah, but they did put out the indictment. Police interviewed one of Barry's employees scheduled to assist him with the Broomfield job. The employee told law enforcement that the employee and Barry were not planning to leave for Broomfield until the evening hours of May 10th. They were supposed to drive together. Instead, Barry left without telling the employee. Barry called the employee at approximately 11:18 a.m. and informed the employee that he had left without them. When the employee arrived in Broomfield on Sunday, the employee noticed that Barry Morphew had failed to bring the proper tools with him for the job and the necessary materials for the job, and had not yet arrived at the job site. Review of the cameras at the hotel and nearby businesses revealed that Barry Morphew was in the Broomfield area for approximately 9 hours and 45 minutes. Of those hours, he spent less than 1/2 hour at the job site. Instead, besides 2 brief visits to the job site area, electronic evidence and cameras from businesses showed him driving around to various locations and discarding unknown items in separate trash cans. Yes, remember we saw this? And then the guy also spoke about the Clorox smell. Remember the bleach smell? Hotel footage then showed Barry arriving back at his hotel room, remaining inside the room from approximately 12:34 p.m. to 5:55 p.m. Inconsistent with his statement to police, he was in the hotel and not at the job site when he received the call about his wife, Suzanne Morphew, being unresponsive and missing. In early interviews with Barry, he told law enforcement that his marriage to Suzanne was the best and that the two had a wonderful weekend together. When Barry was asked whether Suzanne would say anything different about their relationship, Barry stated no. Barry Morphew's statements about his marriage to Suzanne were inconsistent with the other witness accounts. Hi, Debbie D. And evidence located. Specifically, investigators learned that Suzanne confided in people that she was unhappy in the marriage in the weeks and months leading up to her disappearance. Uh-oh, what happened? Call her. What? Oh. Jimmy, can you hear me? Please make sure I'm not on mute. Okay. She discussed plans to divorce Barry Morphew with a close friend. She maintained documented notes of problems in the relationship recovered from electronic devices and the physical search of the Morphew home. Suzanne Morphew had been having a secret affair with an old acquaintance who lived out of the state. She communicated with him daily over LinkedIn and WhatsApp. Suzanne's last known electronic message to anyone was to this person on May 9th, 2020 at 2:11 p.m., just 32 minutes before Barry returned to the home that day. Oh, the conference is on? Okay, let me see. Hang on a minute, because I just saw they said that it wasn't on, Scooter. Hang on. Did you send me a message? Okay, hold on. I just read that thing, but I guess it's, let me see, is it, maybe they got it to stream. Let's see. Okay, hang on. All right, let me get this. Hang on, where am I? Right there. I'm coming to your, hold on, I'm getting to Messenger. Let me see if you sent it to me. I don't see you in there. Okay, with anything. I hear somebody texting me, but okay, I'll find it. Let me see. I was on this other site that said they were going to upload it, that they couldn't stream it. Okay, let's see. I'm on the Colorado. Let me see. Jimmy, can you help find this?
On what?
Look at the chat.
Okay, hang on.
The press conference? Hold on, let me see. Maybe Scooter's putting the, I don't know, she said that. Okay, 1 second. Sorry, guys. This is like, I'll find it. So Jimmy's going to look for it. So, okay. We'll play it in its entirety, okay? And then we'll go through the indictment. Let me see. Because mine said that it was not able to live stream it, but would upload it as soon as it... What? Okay. That's what it said on the news I had from Colorado. Okay, let's see. One moment, Jimmy. Scooter, I think you're wrong. They said they can't upload it now, so I'm going to finish this and I'm going to have Jimmy look for it, okay? An overall timeline of the week of Suzanne's disappearance shows the disappearance coincided with her daughter, the only other occupant of the Morphew residence, leaving on a pre-planned road trip out of state. So the daughter's out of state. If you never heard of this case, which if you were with us, you have, but if you're not, this will give you the background. Because of this, Suzanne and Barry expected to be alone at the residence starting on May 5th, usually either late in the day or May 10th or into May 11th. Suzanne Morphew drove to Gunnison, Colorado on May 5th to depart with her sister and friend on a planned road trip. After May 5th, Barry Morphew and Suzanne were alone at the house. A forensic download of Barry Morphew's cell phone revealed that Barry had deleted a text chain with Suzanne from which an image of a single text remained. A screenshot of this single text message was saved on Barry Morphew's phone on May 6, 2020. That image revealed a text from Suzanne that stated, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." On May 11th, 2020, authorities commenced a search of the Morphew residence that spanned several days. The state of the residence and vehicle showed no signs of a break-in or intruder. Even with no signs of a break-in or intruder, law enforcement collected items of potential evidence and DNA swabs. DNA analysis of the swabs collected produced several DNA profile mixtures consistent with what would be expected in the common areas of a home or vehicle. The mixture profiles were processed through the offender databases, and they were compared to profiles of known individuals who may have been present in the vehicles or the residence. The results did not lead to any stranger or intruder suspects. Oh, okay. Hold on a minute, Scooter. You just sent it to me? Scooter said she sent it to me. Let me see. Yeah, she said, I'll tell you which one she said. Can you send the link, Scooter? Hold on. Let me see. But I'll send it to Jimmy. Hold on a minute. Okay, he's looking for it. Until we get it, we'll keep going on this. On May 11th, 2020, authorities commenced the search. Okay, and no other true. Okay, we went through it. An expert in DNA analysis testified that law enforcement provided analysts with one of the partial profiles developed from the glove box of Suzanne Morphew's vehicle for further investigation using a keyboard search. That allowed for additional comparisons to profiles in more databases with less stringent quality control standards than the National DNA Index System for the limited purpose of creating possible investigative leads. That expert further testified that there were matches to outside databases nationwide. The term match used by DNA analysts does not mean identical. Rather, a match only means that there were other profiles that could not be excluded at the limited number of loci available for the partial profile for comparison. The expert explained she then compared the matches from those databases to the partial profile from the mixture of the glove box and excluded those out-of-state profiles as not originating from the same contributor in all but 3 instances. Finally, the expert explained that just because profiles from those databases matched at the limited loci available for comparison, it doesn't mean that any of those people from the out-of-state profiles were the same person that contributed the partial profile to the mixture on the glove box. Law enforcement investigated those 3 partial matches obtained from 3 separate out-of-state sources and found no connection to the case. Law enforcement located a locked gun safe in the garage during the search of the Morphew residence. Inside the gun safe, they located a dart rifle or tranquilizer rifle positioned towards the front of the safe. Law enforcement also found packages of new dart brand tranquilizer darts in the gun safe. The packages of the darts included capped hypodermic needles inside of them that were designed to load the darts. Law enforcement found one of those needle caps in the dryer after the dryer's contents were removed. Law enforcement also found men's shorts containing among the contents of the dryer that were removed prior to finding the needle cap. The shorts appeared consistent with the shorts of Barry Morphew and the ones he was seen on video wearing May 9th, less than 1 hour before he returned to the Morphew residence. No tranquilizer formula was located during law enforcement's search of the home and vehicles. Police investigated numerous electronic devices and Suzanne Morphew's social media accounts, searching among other things for proof of life. That investigation revealed that Suzanne had not communicated electronically with any living person after 2/11 on May 9th. Her last possible activity on the account protected by password access was 3:08 p.m., over 24 hours prior to her being reported missing. Records showing her typical use of electronics and social media demonstrated that this was inconsistent with her typical pattern of life in the days leading up to her disappearance. Additionally, witnesses indicated they attempted to communicate with Suzanne throughout the time frame but received no response from her. These witnesses indicated her lack of response was out of the ordinary. Barry's electronic devices were also analyzed. A download of the infotainment system on Barry Morphew's truck recovered telematics data showing the location and activity of his truck at certain times on May 9th and 10th. A download of Barry's cell phone located additional location information. Based on data from his cell phone, Barry returned to the Morphew residence at 2:43 on May 9th. The data did not show his phone or truck leaving the residence again until the morning of May 10th. Okay, hold on. I'm just trying to see because let me see if... Okay, hang on.
Don't mix pink salt with 3 other ingredients if you don't want to donate your entire wardrobe in less than a week.
Okay, hang on a minute. I'm going to play the news conference. Hold on. Let me just... It's not beginning yet. Hold on.
Colorado.
Okay, here we go. Hold on.
Up and going. My name is Megan Bagwell. I'm the Director of Administration for the Office of the District Attorney here in the 12th Judicial District. Standing behind me is District Attorney Ann Kelly, that is Kelly, who you'll be hearing from shortly. I also have Sheriff from Saguache County, Dan Warwick, Warwick, Chaffee County Sheriff, Andy Rorick, Rohrich, and Colorado Bureau of Investigation, Agent in Charge, Chris Adams, ADAMS. After District Attorney Ann Kelly's statement, she'll be available for a few questions. Any other questions after that can be directed to media@da12.state.co.us. Thank you.
I appreciate the members of the media that are here today. I scheduled this briefing to provide an update on the investigation that has been in the hearts and minds of the people of Chaffee County since Mother's Day of 2020. Suzanne Morphew was reported missing on Mother's Day 5 years ago. Law enforcement has never stopped working to obtain justice for this mother of two, this daughter, this sister, and this beloved member of the Chaffee County community. Through the tireless efforts of the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, the Saguache County Sheriff's Office, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, I can announce today that the 12th Judicial District Grand Jury returned an indictment. The grand jury has indicted Barry Morphew on the single count of murder in the first degree. Law enforcement, the Chaffee County community, and Colorado as a whole has never stopped fighting for justice for Suzanne. Cold case homicides are tremendously difficult. They're difficult for the families of the victims and the communities who wait patiently for answers. While it may seem at times that the world forgets about these victims, I can assure you that my law enforcement partners and Colorado's law enforcement community do not forget. Every unsolved murder is a tragedy, and we must never give up on our efforts to find answers in these cases. My office will be prosecuting the indictment as Suzanne's remains were found in Saguache County, which is a county within my jurisdiction, the 12th Judicial District. I am extremely appreciative of Michael Doherty, who is the elected district attorney in Boulder County. He has consistently committed material resources to small rural DA's offices like mine to assist in the sometimes Herculean efforts to bring justice for victims in rural areas of our state. His commitment to rural Colorado he's continued his commitment with this case. He's provided me with the assistance of a chief deputy in the Boulder County District Attorney's Office to assist me with the investigation and the prosecution. Colorado's community of prosecutors is committed to assisting wherever the need arises. In addition to Mr. Doherty's assistance, District Attorney John Walsh of the Denver District Attorney's Office has committed to providing me with appellate guidance during the case proceedings. So today I have with me Chaffee County Sheriff Andy Rorick. I stand united with Sheriff Rorick and Under Sheriff Alex Walker. I stand united in announcing this indictment. Through this process, I have seen firsthand how deeply Sheriff Rorick and Under Sheriff Alex Walker and the entire Sheriff's Department in Chaffee County cares about this case. I am proud and appreciative of our cross-jurisdictional partnership and their hard and excellent work. I also stand with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who has never wavered in its commitment to this investigation, providing essential intelligence and investigative resources and expertise through the years. I also recognize and appreciate our continued partnership with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation has done incredible work, and their CBI agents and analysts have worked very, very hard to advance the goal of finding answers in this investigation. Here representing the CBI is Agent in Charge Chris Adams with CBI's Pueblo office. I also stand with Saguache County Sheriff Dan Warwick, who is here with me as well. He and his office immediately answered the call to action when Suzanne's remains were found in the county he represents. Sheriff Warwick and his deputies are an essential part of this team, responding to the recovery of Suzanne's remains with the highest level of dignity and professionalism. I also want to continue to recognize what I have come to expect in my years as a prosecutor, and that is multi-jurisdictional and multi-state cooperation and partnership. I want to recognize the Arizona Department of Public Safety, who immediately responded to our team's request for assistance in locating and arresting Barry Morphew in the Phoenix area. Mr. Morphew will be held by Arizona authorities pending extradition proceedings in that state. And upon conclusion of those proceedings, Mr. Morphew will be transported to Alamosa County to stand trial on the indictment. This indictment has been unsealed upon the arrest of Mr. Morphew. I asked for this briefing to provide you with an update and provide information to the community. Me and my team recognize the importance of being laser focused on the prosecution and to speak with one voice. And so for that reason, all of the agencies that have been involved in getting us to this place, as well as the prosecutors that have been willing to assist me in this investigation and prosecution, they have all been instructed to send any media requests to my office, and so that's what I'd ask of you. In an effort to be transparent, I'd like to thank the the Office of the Judicial District in this district for making the indictment immediately available, and so you can get a copy of that indictment on the State Judicial's website. It is linked on a page labeled Cases of Interest, and it's under Alamosa. Barry Morphew is presumed innocent in this case and that presumption remains with him unless and until he is convicted at trial. And so once again, thank you for allowing me to provide an update to the community on this very important case. And I can take a couple of questions if you have them. Yes, sir.
What was Barry doing in the Phoenix area?
And thank you for the question. The question was, what was Barry doing in the Phoenix area? I appreciate the question, and that information was still being gathered. We have been working very, very hard to make sure that we run down anything we can with respect to this investigation, and our law enforcement officers will certainly be following that. Yes, sir.
In the indictment, you noted that pharmacology expert testified that ban would render the recipient unable to resist any constrictions to the recipient's ability to breathe. Do you believe the dosage of ban was so great it killed her, or that she was so incapacitated she was strangled or something?
And thank you for that question. I am looking forward to having our team present all of those facts in a court of law. Obviously, I would like to be able to provide my comments, but my ethical obligations will not allow me to. However, I am very appreciative of the Judicial Department for making that indictment available, and I look forward to having our team present this case in court. Yes, ma'am.
Why now?
That's a great question.
Why now?
And so we, as prosecutors in Colorado and law enforcement in Colorado, we are very dedicated to making sure that we don't forget the victims of cold case homicides. But we also understand that it is so important to make sure that we have done everything we can to bring a case to court. And we are proud of the work that we've done. Every victim of homicide, murder in Colorado deserves that kind of attention, deserves that kind of work from law enforcement. And I would say that having the opportunity to work on these cases and to bring justice for these victims has been very important to me.
Didn't answer the
Yes.
question.
Yeah, let me.
I didn't answer
Yes,
the
sir.
question.
Were you surprised at all when he was taken to prison? Was he expecting this?
And thank you for that question. The question is whether or not Morphew, what Mr. Morphew's reaction was. And I can tell you that that's going to be part of the case, and we look forward to presenting that in front of a jury. Yes, sir.
So the male DNA was found in Suzanne's car. Are you guys moving forward? Are you guys using that evidence for his trial? Tell us more about that.
And thank you for that question. The indictment has a wealth of information about that particular topic, as well as
The male
the
DNA.
probable cause that supports the arrest in this case. And obviously, we are going to do everything we can to make sure that justice is done for Suzanne, and that includes being as thorough as we can about the facts of the case.
Another question, when you arrest Barry, Arizona, so that's still investigating right now with Arizona law enforcement?
So the Arizona Department of Public Safety has been an incredible partner for us. They organized immediately when we asked them to respond when we received the indictment. So I very much want to thank the Arizona Department of Safety. What about you, sir?
What will be the biggest difference between the prosecution of this case and the time versus back in 2021?
And the question is, what would be the difference between the prosecution of this case and other prosecutions? You know, justice for cold case homicide victims remains a priority in the state of Colorado, both for prosecutors and for law enforcement. And that's despite any challenges
That's not what he asked.
that we may have had in the history of any particular case. That remains a priority for us. And so we have worked very hard to move forward in the case. This case is a different case, and I would refer you back to the indictment in this case. And we've worked very hard to move forward. Yes, sir.
On an emotional level or on a personal level, and it's okay if you repeat yourself, can you talk about the journey, your journey from the day this was dismissed until today? Just broad strokes, just tell us that story.
Well, thank you for that question. The question is, what has this process looked like, essentially? What has this process been like for the family, for the community, for our law enforcement partners? And I can tell you that it has been a long road. It has been a long road, and the families of the victim have been so patient. The community has been so patient. But I can tell you that our law enforcement officers have never forgot, have never given up, and they have been working so hard to get to the place where we are today. And so it is never enough to say we're just going to forget about it because it's too hard. And so that has been the process for me. And I'll take maybe one more question
We were just
here in the
talking
front.
about him, that he got away with murder right the other day.
Suzanne's remains were found in relation to Moffett. I know it was undisclosed, but can you provide any more detail about where she was found?
So it was in and around the town of Moffett, and that raises an important question that I want to address. And so the remains of Suzanne Morphew were found in Saguache County, and that's obviously a county in my jurisdiction. And so jurisdiction in this county is appropriate. I can tell you that I have reached out to and contacted my friend and colleague, elected District Attorney Jeff Lindsay, who currently covers Chaffee County. He is in full support of our efforts to prosecute this case here and has committed to providing any resources that we need to prosecute this case.
How did you know Morphew was in Arizona?
And the question is I'm sorry, can you say that again?
How did you know Barry was in Arizona?
And I appreciate that question. We obviously have never given up on this investigation. And so working with our law enforcement partners, we were able to make that determination.
Could anyone else possibly face charges?
So right now we have the indictment in front of us, and we're committed to working hard to get that done. So, and this will be the last question. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Just one last question. From a community perspective, this community's been through a lot with the district attorney's office. And we've watched you take it over and repair it, stand here with law enforcement, something this community might not have seen in the past. We've watched you build a staff. Now we're at the point where we've got all kinds of television cameras here because you've done what you've done in this particular case. Speak to what kind of satisfaction you have and gotten here, and is the job done with your staff, and can you now move forward?
Well, and thank you. The question relates to the status of our district attorney's office and how and where we've been in the last 3 years. And thank you for the question. The effort that we undertook to come to the San Luis Valley, that I undertook to come to the San Luis Valley and build the district attorney's office was quite tremendous. But I can tell you that the collaboration of prosecutors across the state to assist me, to assist my staff, to assist law enforcement has been absolutely tremendous. It is a testament to how strong our law enforcement community is and how united the prosecutors in the state of Colorado are. And so assisting me in building the office in the San Luis Valley, that is a testament to the assistance that I've received across the state. So thank you for the question.
Thank you for what you've done.
One last question, and when do you expect Barry Morphew to show up?
Thank you. So he's currently being held by the authorities in Arizona. He will go through a process of extradition, and when that process concludes, he will be then transported back to Colorado. So thank you so much.
Okay. Not too many people at this press conference. All right, so she keeps telling us to refer back to the indictment. So let's do just that. Let's refer back to the indictment. Okay, so the download of Barry's cell phone registered events related to the phone. An expert forensic analyst determined that some of these events were in fact Barry Morphew's phone being turned off during the time frame of May 9th into May 10th of 2020. Okay. Turning off a cellular device effectively disables its ability to record location information. Specifically, the forensic analyst noted that Barry Morphew's phone download showed it was turned off at 2:47 p.m. on May 9th, only a few minutes after he arrived at home at the residence where Suzanne sent her last electronic communication to anyone. At approximately 10:17 p.m. on May 9th, the phone was turned back on. Barry's cell phone again was turned off at 4:23 a.m. on May 10th, prior to him leaving the residence on his trip to Broomfield, Colorado. And it was not turned on again until 5:37 a.m. when location information showed him on the road already in the area of Johnson Village, Colorado. Testimony established that the times Barry turned off his phone corresponded to periods of time of significance in the case where location information was consequently unavailable. Similarly, further analysis of the information from Barry's infotainment system, the telematics in his truck, showed that there was an irregular gap in recorded activities, specifically from approximately 3:49 a.m. to approximately 8:10 a.m. on May 10th. There's no recorded data registering on Barry's infotainment system. An indication of no truck activity from telematics is inconsistent with other facts developed from Barry's phone, surveillance footage, and Barry's statements and about his activities on May 10th. Specifically, telematics data showed that Barry arrived at his residence at 2:43 p.m. on May 9th. It then registered various other activities throughout the afternoon at the residence until it ceased at 9:52 p.m. on May 9th. The telematics data then showed activities resumed from 3:25 a.m. to 3:49 a.m. on May 10th, and a GPS location consistent with his driveway. Barry reported to law enforcement that he was asleep during this time frame. From 3:49 a.m. to 8:10, the infotainment system or telematics did not register any data, despite the fact that Barry's cell phone indicated the device was in Johnson's Village at 5:37 a.m. on that date, and Barry reported being in his truck and traveling to Broomfield at that time. When recorded telematics data became available again in the records from the infotainment system download at 8:10 a.m. on May 10th, corresponding GPS Coordinates show that Barry had already arrived in the area of Broomfield, Colorado. The gap in registered data is inconsistent with the pattern of telematics data captured in the days and weeks leading up to this event. Phone records for both Suzanne and Barry were analyzed by expert investigators. The FBI CAS team analyzed phone records for both Barry and Suzanne to determine location information and device usage related to their cell phones. In Suzanne's phone records, there was no indication of any user-initiated activity after the time Barry returned home at 2:43 p.m. on May 9, 2020. Okay, now those of you that have covered this case, you might remember what's going on, right? Because her last message was to this guy that she was communicating with and in a relationship with. And then Barry arrives home at the house, and then you're going to remember that there was like a flurry of activity where it seemed they were running around the house, remember, chasing each other? And it's inferred that that's probably when he shot her with a tranquilizer dart. So that's what we're going to hear now. I'm sure it's going into this now, okay? And she never initiated any kind of contact with anybody after that message and, after he arrived home. Okay, so he returned home at 2:43 p.m. on May 9th. Suzanne's cell phone device continued to connect to RTT data with the cell tower that services the Morphew home throughout the night of May 9th into the early morning of May 10th. These automated data connections, however, were consistent with the tower reaching out to the phone to determine its location and not initiated by the user of the device. That means she did nothing to make those pings or whatever you want to call them. It was just done to get her location, and it was not by the user of the device, which is her. At 4:23 a.m. on May 10th, Suzanne's phone ceased to connect at all, ever again. That's it, right? 4:23 a.m. Just 8 minutes later, Barry's cell phone data shows his phone ceased to connect starting at 4:31 a.m., consistent with cell phone download showing that he powered it off at 4:32. Suzanne's cell phone never registered on any towers other than the tower consistent with the Morphew residence from the time Barry returned home on May 9th at 2:43 p.m. to the time it ceased activity altogether at 4:23 a.m. on May 10th. She never left that house. She was there. Despite searches for this device, Suzanne's phone was never found. Police interviewed people that knew Barry prior to his move from Indiana to Colorado in 2018. These witnesses told law enforcement that Barry was a deer farmer in Indiana. Several individuals told law enforcement that Barry used a specific tranquilizer called BAM to sedate and transport deer on his deer farm. Barry admitted to using BAM in both Indiana and Colorado. Specifically, he admitted to using BAM in Colorado as recently as April of 2020. Stating that at the time he had tranquilized a deer from the breezeway of the Morphew residence. On September 22, 2023, human remains were found in and around a shallow, clandestine grave in Saguache County, Colorado, near Highway 17. The remains were found a few hundred feet down a dirt road off Highway 17. This location was less than an hour south of the Morphew residence by main highways. The remains were determined to be those of Suzanne Morphew. The majority of her bones were recovered. Many of the bones were significantly bleached. Along with Suzanne's bones, law enforcement recovered a cancer port and items of clothing, some of which were consistent with bike clothing Suzanne was known to wear. There was no visible perimortem trauma observed. A board-certified forensic anthropologist, a botanist, and an entomologist all analyzed the remains, and several observations were noted. There was a distinct lack of bug activity, which was inconsistent with the remains having decomposed at that location. So they're saying that it wasn't that she decomposed, naturally there and that bones was left. The bug activity wasn't there to suggest that, which suggests that something happened prior to her being buried there. The clothing items lacked evidence of decomposition, which was inconsistent with Suzanne wearing the bike clothes at the time her body decomposed. Additionally, there was a lack of animal predation on the bones. There was only a very small amount of desiccated soft tissue found on a few of the bones, and there was no hair mass located. All these features would have been expected if this had been the original grave site where decomposition occurred. The forensic anthropologist opined that, based on these findings, it was unlikely Suzanne decomposed from a fresh body to a skeleton at this location. The El Paso County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy. In addition to the standard toxicology testing, the Coroner's Office conducted additional toxicology testing at the request of law enforcement for the presence of the chemical mixture known as BAM, or the combination of butorphanol, azaparone, and medetomidine. The chief toxicologist tested Suzanne's bone marrow for the presence of BAM. All three of the individual chemicals that compromised BAM were present. Additionally, the metabolite for butorphanol was present. The presence of butorphanol metabolite eliminated the possibility of post-mortem BAM contamination. The metabolite's presence indicated that her death was not immediate following BAM exposure, but because Suzanne's body had begun to metabolize the drug before she died. The coroner's office determined cause of death and manner of death as followed: homicide by unspecific means in the setting of butorphanol, azaparone, and medetomidine intoxication. A pharmacologist and medical doctor testified about the toxicology testing done to determine the presence of BAM in Suzanne's remains, about the chemical compound itself and the possible effects of the chemical compound in humans. The expert explained from the toxicology testing done by the coroner's office that it met scientific standards of reliability and accuracy. He further testified that BAM is a chemical mixture of 3 specific compounds used as a tool for sedating animals for medical treatment or movement. Back in 2020 and the years leading up to Suzanne's disappearance, BAM was sold by only one company in the United States and could only be obtained by prescription from a veterinarian. BAM must be administered into the bloodstream through intravenous or intramuscular injection to be effective, as the skin and the GI tract do not absorb it effectively. BAM does not cause sedation instantaneously, but takes several minutes to take effect. BAM is designed not to be lethal and comes with reversal agents in the prescription kit. However, BAM is not FDA approved for any human use. For that reason, there are no specific studies available that address the possible effects the compound would have on humans. The pharmacology expert testified that the compound would render the recipient wholly immobile, vulnerable, and unable to resist any constrictions to the recipient's ability to breathe. So, in other words, she'd have no way to fight off if he was strangling her, suffocating her, smothering her, or anything like that. Records were obtained for BAM prescriptions that related to Barry Morphew. Records were also obtained. Would you say, Philly, you said, I don't understand the mindset that someone has thinking, let me kill my spouse instead of leaving. We had a man murder his wife down near the lake community Tuesday. Really, Frilly? It's crazy, isn't it? You're not going to get away with it. Look at this guy. I think we just talked about him getting away with murder or something just recently. And now, look, he's indicted. So it's still coming for him. Okay. Records were obtained by BAM prescriptions related to Barry Morphew. Records were also obtained for BAM prescriptions for all persons within the counties and adjacent counties to where the Morphews lived and where Suzanne's remains were located. And those records show that Barry obtained and filled several prescriptions for BAM while living in Indiana. Barry's last purchase of BAM by prescription was in March of 2018. Barry obtained multiple kits that each contained multiple doses just a few months before the Morphews moved to Colorado. Records further showed that no other private citizens or private businesses in any of the surrounding counties had purchased BAM prescriptions from 2017 to 2020. Colorado Parks and Wildlife and National Park Service were the only entities that received prescriptions of BAM in those counties from 2017 through 2020. Investigators learned that each of these government entities enforce tight regulations to monitor the BAM prescriptions, storage, and use. None of the BAM from those agencies was unaccounted for. So another thing tying Barry, it ties Barry to this BAM. No one else had this BAM around him, and the BAM was found in her bones, and it shows the metabolite, meaning that it wasn't something that happened after she died. Their body began to metabolize it. So ultimately, the prescriptions show that when Suzanne disappeared, only one private citizen living in that entire area of the state had access to BAM, Barry Morphew. All offenses against the peace and dignity of the people of the state of Colorado. And there's the indictment. So they have him tied to the BAM. They have the BAM in her bones. They have the phone records. They didn't talk about that area, the activity, but where then it stopped, where it seemed like he was chasing her with the dart. Then the dart cap in the dryer along with his shorts that he was wearing on the 9th. Yeah, I think they have a pretty good case. So, let's see what else we have here. And then he was arrested in Phoenix. His daughters both with him. I don't know if that's changed in the years. It's almost been 2 years since they found her remains. Let me see. Let's see. So the grand jury handed down a first-degree murder charge against Barry Morphew. He was arrested in Arizona on Friday, today. And that's for the murder of his wife, Suzanne Morphew. His bond was set at $3 million, cash only. At an evening news conference, the 12th Judicial District Attorney, Ann Kelly, declined to elaborate beyond the indictment that we just read, saying only that her office never gave up on getting justice for Suzanne Morphew, saying, and I quote, "We have worked very hard to move forward in this case. Federal, state, and local law enforcement have never stopped working towards justice for Suzanne. The 12th Judicial District Attorney's Office stands in solidarity with Suzanne's family and the citizens of Chaffee and Saguache counties in pursuing the grand jury's indictment." Saguache. I think it's Saguache. Okay. And Morphew is going to appear in court in Arizona. He'll be given the option of waiving the extradition to Colorado or contesting it. Detectives found that Barry Morphew was living in Arizona, listen to this one, under the alias of Lee Moore. Lee Moore. Barry Morphew Lee Moore. Suzanne's family hoped that 2025 would bring an arrest in the murder of the case, which seemed doomed when it was dismissed in April of 2023. Suzanne's sister, Melinda Mormon Balzer, said, and I quote, "I've been patient with the investigation, and I have great confidence in Ann Kelly and the rest of the prosecutorial team." Balzer and Kelly called the family and informed them of the arrest before sending the news release. Morphew's attorney, David Beller, said that his client maintains his innocence and says, yet again, the government allows their predetermined conclusion to lead their search for evidence. Barry maintains his innocence. The case has not changed, and the outcome will not either. Morphew will appear in court in Arizona, like I said. Okay, under the circumstances, he's expected to waive extradition, Beller said. We will then be at the mercy of the Colorado officials to transport him back to Colorado, presumably sometime next week. The past year saw a major development in the case when results of a long-awaited toxicology report on Suzanne Morphew's remains was revealed. A test found that Morphew had chemicals in her bones that do not appear naturally in humans, according to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and the official autopsy report. And then there was those three chemicals found in Morphew's femur are used by biologists, wildlife officers, and hunters to anesthetize large-sized animals such as deer, bear, moose, and horses. The autopsy report performed by El Paso County Coroner's Office found Suzanne Morphew's cause of death to be undetermined and the manner of death to be homicide. The autopsy was finished on September 23, 2023, just days after Suzanne's remains were discovered by accident by an investigative team from the CBI looking for a different person. Chances that, right? Even after her death, Suzanne Morphew's remains revealed critical clues to investigators as to what happened to her. Authorities believe her remains were dumped in the field long after she was killed, according to the indictment. Her bicycle clothes were also found with her remains and inconsistent with decomposition. Plus, it didn't seem that she decomposed there. Her bones were bleached. Let's see here. Linda Stanley, the prosecutor who oversaw Barry Morphew's arrest in May of 2021, was disbarred after a 2-week disciplinary hearing. In an 83-page ruling, the state office that regulates attorney behavior said that Stanley did not adequately supervise prosecution of the case, made multiple extrajudicial statements to the media about the murder which threatened to prejudice Morphew, and investigated the district judge presiding over the case without credible evidence to do so. Barry Morphew, 56, moved away from Colorado and, as next of kin, received the results of his wife's autopsy report. Iris Itan, Barry's civil attorney, who filed one of the complaints against the former prosecutors, said in a statement to the Denver Gazette on Friday, "In 2021, I had the honor of defending Barry's innocence. Not only is he a loving father, but he was a loving husband." His cousin, Jason Morphew, disagreed and said, and I quote, "Barry was always a heartbreaker, and he certainly broke mine. He was my childhood hero. I hope the actions of the investigation today brings justice one step closer for Suzanne. The district will be assisted by the Boulder County District Attorney's Office in Morphew's prosecution." So that's his cousin, Jason Morphew. Not a fan. Hashtag not a fan of Barry. Not a fan. Okay. Finding her cancer port with her just makes me so sick. She fought for her life against cancer, and then this takes her life away. Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Mark Gordon. How are you? He was living in Cave Creek, Arizona. Thank you, Mark. Welcome. I don't understand the mindset. Yeah, that's just there. Let's see. Could be another 3 years before he goes to trial. Could be, right? How sad for the daughters. Hi, Debbie Rizito. When? Hi, High Speed Drifter. Long time no see. How are you? How's it going? Debbie Roshto, I'm sorry. Did you follow this case, High Speed Drifter? So there's the indictment. He goes to court in Arizona, expected to waive extradition, and then, you know, it'll be a bunch of hearings and things. I'm glad that you're blessed daily, High Speed. I haven't seen you in a long, long time. So we do have a craft night coming up tonight, Frilly. It's going to be in about half an hour. We can talk about this and anything else. If you want to come up, Frilly, let me know. We'd love to see you come up. My arms are so sore. I've been power washing all day. And, well, I did stop to drive Luke to the school because he had to help with a movie night. Then I came back and power washed some more. Then I was going in the shower, and Scooter called me with this. She's like, "Did you hear this?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it figures." Feels like that's how it's always been with this case. Something has always happened while, you know, and unfortunately, this case, the 5 years ago, happened at the same time that this whole case broke right after Ray died. So it's always been hard like that. But justice for Suzanne will, say, because I was just saying, we were just talking about these husbands that murder, and you sent it to my email. You sent it to your email? Oh, you sent me this? Oh, okay. I didn't even get to my email. I was up in the bathroom getting into the shower, and Scooter texted me. I haven't even opened my email, but thank you. I don't know. Scooter thinks this guy is so hot. This guy here. I don't know. He's not going to look so hot when he's chasing you with a tranquilizer dart, Scooter. That had to be horrific, right? And the way the flurry of those phones were, it was like that he was chasing her, right? With the tranquilizer dart. It's not like, I don't think that she just didn't see it coming. If I remember correctly, they were running around the house, right? At the outside of the house. It's horrendous. So he was Lee Moore? Was that his name? His alias was Lee Moore? I wonder how many dating sites. I wonder how many women are going to come forward. I wonder if he had a steady girlfriend. What do you think? how many women he dated, right? Oh, look who, and then you like, did none of these women recognize him? Well, maybe a lot of them didn't follow true crime. You know, can you imagine going out on the date and being like, wow, you look a heck of a lot like this guy, Barry Morphew. But your name is Lee Moore. You're a dead ringer for him. Right? Come on. Lee Moore. Isn't it crazy that they can track your every move? Yeah. It is. Scooter, where are you? Where'd you go? Where'd she go? Scooter. Scooter thinks this guy is hot. She likes this guy. I know she talked about his work clothes. I don't know what work clothes the heck she's talking about. She left me some long, crazy messages. And is... Hi, Mark. Justice for Suzanne. They got what they need. Mr. Hottie gonna look great in an orange jumpsuit. Yeah, Mark, did you... Mark, tell me, have you followed this case since the beginning? We have here, we followed it, you know, first, and then the next, from the time she went missing, you know, then she's found, then all of this stuff that came out with him, and everybody thought that she might have been buried in one of the job sites. Remember all that? This is the case, right? One time they had one of his job sites, like, they were searching in there, but there was nothing there. So then the prosecution of the case and all that debacle, and then saying they were going to stop because they wanted to bring it forward when they had more, right? And then finding the body and thinking that, well, there'll be an indictment coming soon. You know, a year goes by, a year and a half. He must have thought, did he get away with murder, right? Lee Moore. Mr. Lee Moore. Your phone battery ran out. I have only been following the high school. Oh, Anthony, yes. Yes, Carmelo Anthony. Yes, I know. We're covering that here, High Speed Drifter. What a tragedy, right? He killed Austin Metcalf at that track meet. Terrible, terrible case. And yet, people have made it into a race, you know, a race case. And that's not what it is. It's not what it is. And there are people that are getting behind the suspect just because of skin color. It's terrible. Oh, yeah, we've been following. They have a ton of evidence. Yes, yes, they do. It sounds like they have a good case now. Yeah. I don't think it was definitely not self-defense, High-Speed Drifter. It was definitely not. Okay? He should have never been under that tent. He should have never been there. Ever. He shouldn't have had a knife on the school grounds. He should have never pulled it out. He should have never done that. Okay? He's 100% in the wrong. He's a cold-blooded killer, and he's trying to put a self-defense on it. And he's just got this backing because of skin color. They want to make this that, and it's not that. It has nothing to do with skin color. He should have never been in that tent. He didn't have to use deadly force at all. Okay? It was ridiculous. And the other child didn't have a weapon at all. It's absolutely ridiculous to say something like we've said many times. You know, we just had one of those huge track meets at our school. and the schools set up their tents and stuff, and you don't go under someone else's tent. But then if somebody says, hey, you don't belong here, come on, go on, get out, you don't just pull a knife and stab someone in the chest. You know? High school boys push each other and argue. I agree. They could have thrown a punch, pushed, right? Pushed or shoved, but you pull out a knife and you stab him in the heart? No, sorry. You can't do that. That guy, that he is wrong on every count. You should have not had that weapon on in the school grounds. And there is still a report from something with Carmelo Anthony in February that they've kept under wraps. And I believe it does have to do with some kind of an assault. And I've been trying to find out what that is. But it'll all come out. But it's a terrible thing. The twin brother, Austin died in his twin brother's arms. Terrible. The whole family, it's just destroyed. And why? Because this imbecile brings a knife and thinks that that's the way to solve something. And I'm sorry, it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with murder and doing the wrong thing and just craziness. But of course, it's been turned into a race thing, and it's just ridiculous. And the circus that is going to be that, which is we've already seen, the circus. If someone pushed me as a teenager, I would have told them to stop it. I told them off, buzz off. Yeah, exactly, High Speed. Exactly. It's ridiculous. Anyway, we're going to eat something. We're going to be back with a craft night where we can all come on panel and talk about Suzanne Morphew case. We can talk about anything while we craft. That'll be nice. I hope that you'll be there. And so I'll see you guys in a little bit. Where are you coming from?
Well, like, where's that?
Did you catch anything?
Yeah, I won't fish. Nothing good. Not fighting. Oh.
No?
No, where's Dad?
He's outside.
This side?
Yeah. Is something wrong?
No, I said something about the car.
Okay. So, well, you're right on Mark. Now I remember why. You're right on his Mark. I like your channel so much. Also, you folks are very friendly and nice. Thank you, High Speed Drifter. Yeah, I that's the way. I was so infuriated when they turned it into a racial thing. It's ridiculous. All right, I'll send you the link, Frilly. It's okay. We'll probably be a few minutes late too. No, I'm gonna try not to. We're gonna eat and beyond. But yeah, we'll talk then on panel. Don't come on and see us, everybody. All right. Thank you so much for watching High Speed. Don't be a stranger. Come by and see us. All right. Love you guys. God bless. Prayers. Thank you for listening to me.